Hello on the Rockers. It's Ladies Comedy Night with comedian writer Allison Reese, who has gone viral with her Kamala Harris videos, as well as TV, film, and comedy club work with my guest co-host, storyteller, and writer Jen Curcio, winner of the Moth, by the way, and me, just pretending to be funny. Your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks.
Banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, place where we're too glam to give a damn. My pet peeve this week, people announcing on Facebook, yes, some of us dinosaurs are still using Facebook or Instagram, saying, I'm going to delete my followers. I just have so many, so unless you interact with me, send me a message or whatever, which basically means raise my algorithm, you're gone. I'm just like, bye, girl. Like, delete me. I'll do it first. You want that? Bloop. Yes. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email, book me for a pride, funeral, wedding, quinceañera, bris, I don't care, I'll host. Info at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Also send us your comments, guest requests, and guest questions. Info at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. This show's presented by Straw Hat Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 320 episodes at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com for free. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, on the Outlet.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV Network, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast. Hello, East Coast. Aren't you jealous of our heat? No. Okay, let's get this show on the road. My co-host today, coming back to On the Rocks, Jen Curcio, is a storyteller and writer. She has won the Moth, appeared on Soul Pancake and Kevin Allison's Risk podcast, and performs all over LA. She hosts Chill Vibe Storytelling Open Mic, the only open mic for storytelling in LA. That's at the Lyric Hyperion, by the way. There she is. She's so fabulous. You might recognize her. She's come on the show to talk ghost stories in LA, which I love. Please welcome back Jen Curcio.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Curcio. Uh-oh. Okay, this probably sounds like Tony, that video behind me. What did I say? You can't get good white help anymore. You just can't. Like, you just cannot.
No.
This probably sounds like duh, but storytelling is wildly different than stand-up. For us laymen, how are the two forms the most different? Because I've been to storytelling nights, and to me, it's elongated storytelling, but it doesn't have to be funny, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I tend to try to be. But yeah, I would say the biggest difference is like the structure. But I've seen bits of storytelling structure in stand-up.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, oh, okay, well, how do they really differ? Now, are storytelling sets, do they tend to be longer?
Yeah, I would say so.
And every story has a beginning, middle, and end?
It should. Do.
How do you know who's a good storyteller? Like, if somebody tells, like, it's a tragic story, but they're terrible at it, do you tell them, like, hey, this is not for you?
I mean, I wouldn't, but...
Well, that's because you're nice. I would. Be like, get off the stage, bitch!
No, I mean, I guess I've heard some terrible long ones, but yeah, I mean, I think like a good one is like if they're succinct about it, they do have like all the structures, like you know what you're like. At no point are you lost, or you like because one time the worst one I ever heard, it was like this woman was having an affair with the UPS man at her job.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, but it was
like
terrible.
A penthouse column? Yeah.
It wasn't. It was like sad, and they like went to the Motel 6 to like have sex, and like that's fine. I'm not judging, but like
I'm not going to judge that. I may have done the same in Palm Springs. Hello, downtown Motel 6. That was Motel 69 that weekend. But what are the tenements of a good story? Because I know stand-up, you need to have beats, you need to have like the punchline.
I think there's beats for sure in there, but there's less punchlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get into storytelling?
It's so funny. I actually saw Margot Lightman tell a story in Philadelphia. She was like touring, and I was like, this woman's amazing. And I was just enamored of her, and I was like, I got to do this. What is this? And my friends were like, that's storytelling. So I was like, I'm going to do it. And so I did like one show. There was only one show in Philadelphia where I'm from. And then I moved to LA, and I was like, is there more here? And I just started doing it.
What was the first story that you remember telling?
It was a story. So I worked with a woman who was just she was trying to like pin everybody against each other at work, and it wasn't even a great job. And I was like, "What are you doing, Sue?" And so it was just like all about that. And then
Come on, Sue.
Yeah.
Sue is here, but no. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it was just about that and like how she started crawling under people's desks. So I had to go to HR, and the HR person was like, "Can you demonstrate?" And I did it, and I was like, "Is this like a reality show? Like, what the
Yes.
hell?" And so,
my God.
and then she started laughing, and she's like, "I'm sorry to laugh at you, but it's funny."
I could never be in HR, even
No,
though
I
I've been in HR many, many times, never to work. So how is the storytelling scene in LA? I know that you host one of the only open mic nights, but is storytelling thriving? Is it famous people doing the storytelling? Who's in the storytelling gang?
I think it's a mix. I think it really is. It's a good mix. I went to a show a couple weeks ago, and there was someone from Mad TV on it. That was pretty cool. I think it's just a good mix. But it's thriving. It's it's building up.
I always thought of doing that, but my stories are so long.
You should do
And just
it.
because I think I'm funny doesn't mean anybody else thinks I'm funny.
You are.
Well, we'll see.
No.
I'm taking that button away from you, Tony. My God. All right. It's time to get down. Allison Reese, at Alien Reese, by the way, across all platforms, comedian writer known for her Kamala Harris impression, viewership in the millions worldwide. And I'm not just saying, sometimes I get a PR rep and they're like 1.1 million, so they say millions. We're talking millions. Currently, she voices characters on she voices the characters of Lydia Parker and Nina Powell on Stephen Colbert presents Tuning Out of the News on Comedy Central, of course. She made her film debut in the Judd Appatow film Bros and was named 2022 Just for Laughs New Faces of Comedy. She's an alumnus of the 2022 CBS Sketch Comedy Showcase and the Second City Chicago. And if you know anything, the Second City Chicago is home to all the greats. And probably some disgruntled not-so-greats that were like, meh. She also appeared on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Kimmel. You can listen to Allison's podcast, the MK Hour on Apple Podcast. I can't even do it right. MK Hour on Apple Podcasts, or catch her live at UCB with her sketch group Wishbone, or at her solo show Unhinged Beyond the Kamala. And I'm so thankful one of Allison's fans sent our show a clip. And I was hooked instantly, and I had to scroll through every post. It was like, no more posts available. I'm like, what? I went through years of posts. I was like, this is amazing. We knew we had to book her, and I'm so excited she's here. Let's take a look at one of her latest viral offerings. Just give you a little sample of what everybody's going gaga for.
You know what? They can talk all they want about me and my word salad speeches, right? Because at least I have never froze up, for 20 fucking seconds during a press conference. Little girl, retire. You're looking like a dead fucking fish out there. Girl, take a nap forever and then get back to us in the morning. No, God, he need help. Why is he running stuff? I can only hope that one day I too will be practically dead, but serving Congress and looks. God, look at that cat.
Please welcome Allison Reese.
Oh.
I'm so glad to have you here. Like I said, I am such a fan. Anyway, so we're just going to get to it. We're going to get into nitty-gritty. Were you raised in a funny household?
Yes.
So is that where you got your sense of humor?
I believe so. I'm one of 6 kids, and I'm like smack dab in the middle. So like,
how do you have your voice heard?
Exactly. Yeah. I used to tell like 5-minute long jokes like in the first grade, and they weren't. I think in the time they were not funny or endearing. I think people were just like, oh my God, wrap it up.
Well, no, but like what first graders are able to put together 5 minutes are like, look what I can do, and then that's it.
Yeah, no, but it was a talent for sure. Just going, dead in the eyes and just reciting 5 minutes of stuff.
But I love that. That's probably like how you had your voice, your personality heard, and like with that many other siblings. Do you come from a big family?
No, just one sister.
I'm an only kid, thank God.
Oh, good for you. That's always so wild to me. I can't imagine being the only
You get
one.
all the attention.
Well, yeah. Now I'm like
more.
craving it all the time. It's how I eat.
So when you do like Thanksgiving and all that, are you always the funny one at the table now?
I mean, I try to be, but the more time goes on, the more I'm like, everybody else is actually way funnier than me.
That's funny.
Yeah, my siblings are so funny. My parents both have their own like brand of humor. My mom is like really, she does a lot of voices, is kind of cartoony, loves puns, and my dad is on the other end of the spectrum. He like loves, what is that? Sorry to Bother You. You know that movie?
It sounds familiar.
It's trippy. He likes trippy stuff, artsy stuff.
It's like
He's
independent.
yeah. He's a trip. So like just both ends of the comedy spectrum, I feel.
But that's funny because your comedy does have elements of like Portlandia, where it's kind of like out of the box thinking. It's like, wait, that's funny? Yeah, that is funny. But then with the voices and all that, like you have the best mix. They must be over the moon at your success.
Yeah, they are. They've been so lovely and so supportive. I couldn't have asked for better parents.
And you started like really doing comedy shows, high school, Phoenix, where you were raised. I want to know, what was it like going through high school as a black girl, queer, in Phoenix?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we think that Phoenix is this thriving whatever. Last time I was in Phoenix, I actually had some homophobia instances.
Oh no!
And I've heard that about Phoenix, that it's not as like cosmopolitan or as open as we'd think. So when you're going through high school, going through puberty and all that, what was that like?
It really sheltered me in this not great way. Like where I was in Arizona was a very Mormon-heavy place in Mesa, which definitely influenced me big time. I didn't come out till I was like 20, 21. Wow. And I just remember I would always hang out with all the Mormon cliques. They're like different groups of Mormons. And I was like, yeah, these are all my friends. But really, we were all just the same level of sexually repressed is what was happening, I think, after looking back. But
Mormon boys are the best in bed. I can tell you that. Whether they're still in the church or they're fresh out of the church.
I don't doubt that, and I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I figure it's the same with Mormon girls, too. And they're probably like...
And
they don't even have to use the sheet. But that's interesting. Do you think we had the late Leslie Jordan on here, and he said during high school is when he used comedy to ward off any bullies and to be the funniest one so that people couldn't make fun of him first because he was already being funny. That was his sense of safety.
Yeah. There's definitely a sense of safety in comedy for me as well. I mean, I think a lot of it really does come from like, oh, if I stand out, how do I stand out with like being from such a large family? That kind of went into everything I did. I did basketball for years, and I was always really wanted to be the funny one. I don't know if I ever really was, but...
Well, let's look at this reunion that you're going to have coming up here and be like, you are the funny one.
We'll see.
Now, when did you kind of come out?
I was 30. And I lived
That's
here.
a story right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
30 years old.
I was 30, yeah.
Had you been with girls or no?
I had like a secret high school girlfriend, and that was it. And then I like went back.
And then
home.
for years you were like, oh no, we don't.
Yeah.
Was it not
that.
good?
It was fine, but I was like, I was in like 9th grade. I mean, we're still friends.
Oh, you are? Well,
we're, like,
lesbian.
friendly.
Hello. Of course, they're friends. Probably like adopt cats together. Now, what was your coming out finally? Because close with your parents, but still having this kind of like, this is my true identity.
Yeah, so I was living here about 10 years ago, and I was just like, in my mind, I was like, I can never be the successful artist that I want to be if I'm not like honest with myself and with the people I care about. And I was like, I have to come out, and I was so scared. And I didn't want to do it like face to face or even over the phone, so I just sent like a group text.
Oh my God.
Which
Kelly Rowland on her Excel.
yeah, but it's me. I sent a group text to my parents.
Did you save that text somewhere?
My sister has sent it to me. I'll have to send. Like, I sent
Print
one
it on
to
a
her.
T-shirt and wear it at one of your shows.
I should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should.
Yeah.
Who was on it? Was it like
It was my parents and I think my siblings, or either just my parents or just my different.
And the DoorDash guy just by accident.
By mistake, that guy was there too. But I was just like, hey, think I'm gay? That cool? And that was
really it?
That's really it. And several minutes went by, and I was like, oh God. And my dad finally responded, and he was like, yep, you're good.
And that's it?
And that's truly it. And my mom called and was like, hey, was that like a, I don't know, I know you're doing comedy. Is that like a joke? Or like,
Is that a bit?
what was that? And I was like, oh, no, it's real. And she's like, okay.
That sounds like maybe one of your new viral songs.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's all you did.
And,
But that
you
shows
know,
how close you were with your family, though.
yeah.
Like, that's what they expected.
They were like, okay, great. My oldest sister is also gay. And so she came out way before I did. And so that really alleviated any pressure that I had.
But it didn't make you safe enough to feel like you wanted to come out earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But she did make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And she never lets me forget it. So,
She's like, I was there first.
yeah.
Is she single?
No, she's married.
Oh.
They have
sorry,
two
Jen.
kids. Sorry.
Oh, I'm not single.
Oh, you're not?
I'm not.
Oh, way to go.
That's another story. Okay. Now,
secrets.
did you come out because you were in a relationship, or you?
I mean, yes, but also like I came out to friends before my family when I wasn't in a relationship, and then like I met someone, and like 2 weeks into it, she was like, "You have to come out to your parents," and
Oh
I was
my
like,
goodness.
"What?"
Oh, my goodness.
So it was a bit of a force, but
No, like you were saying, you wanted to be true to your art and your craft. We know it's only like in the last couple of years that it's like it's okay to come out now, and that's like celebrated. Were you scared, and were you ever scared, like being in the LA storytelling scene, to like make that decision to be like, this is going to affect my whole career?
No, actually.
Really?
I had I was like, I won't have a career unless I'm honest with myself. I was like, I won't be able to do anything meaningful unless I'm like true to who I am.
I think that's the difference of a younger generation of entertainment people. It really is about their art and themselves. Whereas I come from a different generation. It's like, I just want to be famous, so whatever I need to hide or do whatever to be
Yeah.
famous. Not like, entirely that, but the idea of self-worth and having to live your truth, I think, is a newer idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
I agree.
Did you think it was going to affect your storytelling career or writing even?
No, I thought it was gonna, like similarly, like I thought it would be better because I was like, oh, this is like a unique perspective, and even being out like a little bit later, I was like, there's not a lot older late. Not that I mean, 30 is not that old.
Right.
No.
Let's not act like it's old.
Just don't ask a 24-year-old. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, when I first got to Hollywood, I had interviews with 2 major agents, and both of them were like, don't tell us your sexuality. Let's start the conversation like that. But because I had sent in video and I had to perform for them, whatever, and like, you have to change your hands, you have to change your haircut, you
my
have to change
goodness.
your voice, you have to talk like this. But don't tell us if you are gay, but that's what you need to do. And I was like, I was horrified, and then I never went back. Okay, so let's talk about the move from Phoenix to Hollywood. You lived there for a couple years. What made you decide to just like pack up? Was it you wanted to do TV and film?
To move here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly it. I was like, I want to do TV and film. I had gone to an improv camp, and they had all been doing improv in LA, and they're like, the comedy scene here, the sketch here is so good. Like, you got to come out here if you want to do this. And I was like, okay. And it was at this point where I was like, okay, do I finish film school or do I, jump out there? And I jumped out here, and I was here for a couple years, and it was really, really great, really formative, but I was just too young, I think, to fully
Interesting.
appreciate everything.
Well, I think you can speak to this. Well, and you now being back in LA, the scene it's great once you're at a certain level, but it's so structured, and it's, I don't want to say cliquey, but it's hard to break into.
Yeah.
We have the groundlings, which is great, but there's a bunch of people that you see on TV every week as well, and film.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine LA and then having to just come fresh from Phoenix and all that. So you decided to go to the Chicago scene.
I did.
Which
I felt deeper into improv. I was like, you know what I should do more of? This thing that doesn't pay.
But it's funny because when I say you got into the scene, toured with the Second City, produced, created your own shows. That's where the Kamala impression kind of came from,
It is,
was
yeah.
born. And we know that, like I said, the comedy scene can be very hard to get into no matter what city you're in. But Chicago, especially when they're so well known, and Chicago's theater scene, we've interviewed a number of actors that started in Chicago theater. How did you break into that circle, kind of being the newbie? Did you knock on the door and be like, here I am? Because you were a central figure and responsible for a lot of the productions that went on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely took time, and it helped that I was just so enthusiastic about comedy. It's like all I wanted to do. because I just wanted to, take classes at IO and Second City and just really immerse myself in it all. And everybody there was really great, and I, found community right away with different theater groups that weren't necessarily the bigger ones that I was wanting to work at, like Second City or IO, but like there was a theater called Under the Gun and, the Playground. There are all these little theaters where you could just like get up and do stuff and meet new folks and kind of climb the ranks in that way. And that provided me space to like start producing stuff.
Yeah.
And I came up with this improv form called Matt Damon Improv.
Yes. I want to know the name.
Well, have you seen Project Greenlight?
Yes.
From like forever ago?
Yes, of course.
There was one black female producer on it, and he like mansplained diversity to her in like
From Matt Damon.
Yeah, of
the
course he did.
most problematic way like you've ever. It was so upsetting. And I saw that, and I was like, man, if he could just listen to a woman of color for 5 minutes, he could stop whatever this is. So that was kind of the inspiration. So we would have a guest white person. The team was all women of color, all different walks of life. And we had one white person, and they were our Matt Damon, or Lena Dunham, if you will. And they weren't allowed to speak unless they were saying something we said, to really force them to listen to women of color.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, and you turned this into like a web series during COVID.
I
You
did,
in
yeah.
Diana, and you structured it around women of color in the business world. You have, because it got a lot of press.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in a minute, so just remembering the premise was...
It was an office. Everybody was zooming from home because it was during COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I'm explaining it to you. Oh my God, I'm Matt Damon. Can a brown person be a Matt Damon?
No.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, no. So it was these women who ran a business, and it was like a back massager that was suddenly selling out, and it was like saving their business, and they didn't realize it was being used and confused for a vibrator. And so they all of a sudden are now in this sex toy business, and it's really taking off. And so it's their day to day trying to figure it out.
What I love about like starting that, and like during COVID, you're like, okay, we're not just going to sit here and like mope around. We're going to work on this together and support other women, which I love, while getting our message across. But this is what I love about finding out more and more about your career. It's like you pivot where you need to. So you want me to write? Great. You want me to do a voice? Great. You want me to be in a film? Great. You want me on stage? Maybe I'll do a song.
Yeah.
Even, like your TikToks and your viral videos, you pivot and you keep challenging yourself.
Oh, thank you.
And you keep like reinventing yourself, which is so important in this business.
I really try to. Honestly, it goes back to just trying to be the best creative I could be.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be stuck to one thing, which is kind of a line I walk with the comm looks. I'm like, okay, this is what the algorithm is hungry for, what it will reward me for.
Yep.
But there's no way I could do just that. So I typically try to use my Kamala to introduce people into my other stuff.
And I clicked on all that other stuff.
Oh, good.
Did storytelling increase after COVID because people were at home being very reflective about their lives?
Yeah, I think it did. There were like a lot of online shows.
Yeah.
But it was I think it was so hard because I'm sure like anything, like stand-up shows online, like that live audience feedback was just not there, and you were just kind of like,
It's rough.
I can't imagine that.
Did you did like Zoom shows?
yeah.
So I don't know, with comedy Zoom shows, a lot of it would be like, light up the chat, let us know that you're laughing, which is like so not the same.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to be looking at the chat.
yeah,
That takes you out
exactly.
of the moment.
Yeah. But like, how did you get that like feedback? Or
I didn't.
you didn't? You're just like, okay, I'm doing it.
I was just like, I'm doing it. And like one time there was like a guy in, like, he was like coming from the, like in the Midwest or whatever, and he just would like groan throughout people's stories. And I
Oh
was
no.
like,
He had his mic on?
he did. Like he was the only one, and they were like, please turn off your mic. And he was just like, ugh.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, oh man,
That's hilarious.
it was really awkward. But then it was also nice because like I found there was
Indiana
like
Part 2.
There it is.
there was like a nice group of lesbians in Seattle that did a show that was really nice, and they were like very thoughtful and nice.
I like that.
What I think the smartest thing during COVID were comedians that just didn't sit on their ass. They started clipping a lot of their stuff. We know a lot of comedians came out of COVID booking shows left and right because people were just home scrolling and scrolling.
Yeah.
I got to know a lot of female comedy troupes that finally were putting their skits online. It was a great period of discovery because we were looking for laughs somewhere.
Yeah.
And I thought we saw a lot of diversity during COVID that we wouldn't have seen from Hollywood or whatnot on the mainstream basis. I want to know, in Chicago, your first professional gigs, like your first shows with the Second City, shows that you produced, what were your biggest obstacles in being in that scene in terms of was race, gender, sexuality an issue?
Oh, absolutely. It's so funny because I've moved around a lot.
Yeah.
I lived in Phoenix here, Chicago,
New
New
York.
York, just all over the place. And I always find it so interesting that each city has its own flavor of racism. And like no city is immune from it. It's just
This is
how
such a
they're
true
doing it.
thing.
Yeah. So like Chicago really threw me for a loop because Midwest nice is such a thing where everybody's so polite. But it does throw you because I'm like, wait, does that person hate me or they're so polite I can't get a read on it. So it's like a little bit harder to read, whereas in New York, if somebody has an issue with you, they straight up tell you to your face.
Which I appreciate, by the way. It's none of this like behind my back. It's like, okay, you don't like me, fine. I know where I stand.
Yeah, so it was like I had to learn like a new language in existing. On top of like just being in Chicago, it's not like here you have to interact with people all day long. Like being on the train, you're like your personal bubble is now intersecting with the personal bubbles of all these people you would never ever see if you were just in your car, you know? So that was definitely an adjustment. As far as like the comedy scene, when I was there was a lot of growing pains, I think, and a lot of growth. You know, there was in the early days, there were definitely times where it was like I would come on stage and my white scene partner would make me a slave.
No.
Yeah, and it'd be like, oh my God, why did you do that to me? and then it would be like, you know, the teachers were older Chicago people who were like, remember Tina Fey in the 90s? That was fun. And like, but like wouldn't know how to handle that situation. So it would be a lot of like self-advocacy from a lot of the people in that scene.
Which is so weird because the black community in Chicago, especially the black theater community, is so it's so prevalent and it's so critically lauded. I guess that didn't carry over to the comedy
Not
scene.
into the improv world. The improv world is very, very north side. Chicago is a incredibly segregated city.
Yes.
They like
South Side, like you ever seen
yeah.
The Shy on Showtime? Like yes.
Yes. And so the improv scene is very heavily catered to the north side of that city.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, there's definitely blind spots. I've definitely seen a ton of growth. Like the thing I mentioned would not happen today in any way, shape, or form. Luckily, I mean, that's a thing that happened to me, and I don't think that would happen to anybody who's there today. But what other stuff is happening there? I don't know. I'm not there anymore.
Well, even my like ignorance, like when I first was seeing your videos and I was passing around, like, oh, you've got to see this Latina comedian. I just assumed you were Latina,
Really?
because your first looks. I'm like, oh, you got to be Latina, and it's like, no, that was my.
That's so funny.
Because I wanted you to be like in me familia so badly, but that was like my thing, and somebody was like, dork, she's not Latina. I'm like, what?
That is so funny.
Okay.
I get a wide variety of what people think my background is. I used to work at Starbucks in Phoenix, and there was one day this couple came through the window, and they pull up and they see me and they go, mahalo.
Oh, I could see that too.
And I was like, what? And they're like, mahalo, we just got back. And like they kept talking about how beautiful it was and kept saying mahalo. And I was like,
No.
Can I have my double white macchiato with soy and almonds?
yeah. And I was like, oh man.
But that's good for Hollywood, though. Like, once the strike is over, you're going to be like, yeah, I can play that. I can play French, yes. Egyptian, yeah.
French, yes. Oui.
Yeah, I was gonna say we.
Yeah.
Oui, oui.
I can eat a croissant in no time flat. That's my friend, like, experience.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about day jobs. You know,
Sure.
we know in entertainment, storytelling, improv, podcasting, you got to do what you got to do. I want to know, what were some of like the worst day jobs that you've had to pick up and you were like,
Oh man.
girl, this is for you too.
Oh.
She picked up like the jug. She's like,
I was like,
I'm Jen Curcio. I don't have a problem.
You know, that is so funny. Just the whole handle.
People expect it from me.
Yeah. Get it.
Did you know Tito's came with a handle? Just for me.
Just for you.
Yeah, Uncle Tito's like, this is for you.
Worst day job. I had so many. I've done a lot of different coffee shop gigs. And there was one coffee shop gig that was so chaotic. One of the cooks like had a gun in his bag and he like brought a gun in and they didn't like punish him. And because he like was the weed dealer for the owners. And so they were like, well, we
Sell more
can't fire
croissants.
him. Yeah. And so they just had him write an apology letter to everybody.
What?
Like a
Which
personal
was so crazy. It was just like pinned in the
You should have
back.
just sent a group text like you. Like,
honestly-
sorry about the weed, y'all. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about it. I also worked like a temp job at like a call center. Nothing sucks your soul out of your earthly body quicker than working at a call center.
100%.
It's the worst job on the planet.
And they make it sound like, oh, it's easy. It is easy money, by the way, if you can
Yeah.
stand more than 4 hours of it. When
Yeah.
I first moved to LA, I won't say how many decades ago, the first job was call center. You're going to make $17.50, and at that time it was like great.
Yeah,
You'll
it's
get paid every week. You get bonuses, whatever. You'll get paid for the training, and you sit there through the first 2 days, and they give you the script, and they're like, it's fine. The names are going to pop up and whatever. It's the most horrific, like you said, soul draining.
It is, yeah. Oh my God. And they had like these systems that would like keep track of like, it would time you. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, how long are you in emails? How long are you on the phone talking to people? How long are you in the bathroom? And it was like,
And then
y'all are
they'd have
tracking
the
my...
floor manager that would walk back and forth.
Yeah,
and be like,
yeah. And it was like, oh man. That coupled with it being Chicago winter, I was like, nothing could be worse.
No.
What?
To have no sun for weeks on end and
then
be
dealing with
yeah.
What kind of calls were like? Was it a
It
like
was-
a product or?
It was like customer service for some like online thing they had for like auto companies.
It's
It
like
was
you never
so
knew exactly
insane.
what you were
I
selling.
never knew exactly what it was, but I knew everybody was mad at us and that they were right to be really mad at these people. I was like, yeah, it sounds like what they're doing is bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
For the call center I was at, they branded it. It was we were cold calling people that gave to nonprofits. So they worded it. It's a nonprofit call center. In theory, I guess it was because we were asking people to donate to nonprofits, and then you never knew what was going to pop up on your screen. It could be for PETA, and then the next thing could be for the Republican, whatever. But then the name would take a minute. So they would pick up the phone, and there would be that second before the name would pop up.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my third day, and I knew I was going to quit. I just couldn't. Like, I hated every minute. And the guy's name pulled up, and it was Harry Wiener.
No way.
It wasn't.
I swear on my life. And so I burst out. I'm like, Harry Wiener? And
Oh
then
my God.
you always make friends with the people right next to you because you're like miserable all together. And then the girl laughed, and she whispered it. We're all laughing. They shut down our system, and then they told me to leave. I was like, Harry Wiener.
That's so funny.
It's probably Harry Weiner, by the way, but you know me.
You know what?
I see Harry Wiener. I go for it.
I don't believe you. I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah. No, have you ever had any like crazy?
Yeah, I did a call center job, but it wasn't. It was like a weird. It was like a job where like they were like whatever comes up, like whatever happens for the day, you're gonna have to just fill in. So I'd fill in for like random companies like that day. So I did like a call center thing, and I had to call all these doctor offices and just be like, have you heard of this really rare disease? And they were like, never heard of it. Don't call us again.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I'm sorry.
You're right.
You have it. Goodbye.
Test results are in. Sorry.
So I don't know. Learning with the Second City, and like I said, you had many different roles. You weren't just on stage.
Correct.
What is your creative process now? You've been professionally taught. You've learned what works, on the street, so to speak, like in reality, which is different than an educated, like classroom type
Yes.
situation. You're like, well, that didn't work. So what is your creative process when you put together a skit, whether it's, a 1-minute skit for TikTok or whether it's a skit for one of your shows or with your troupe?
That's a really good question because I feel like I'm always trying to find what my process is, and I feel like it's just always evolving. A thing from the Second City that I really, really love is like improvising into writing. Just this idea of like the way they do shows is you come out, you improvise a scene, and then later you write it up, and then you edit it, and then maybe you do that scene again, and then you feel free to like improvise new stuff. And that's kind of how I view writing, particularly characters, and a lot of my Kamala stuff is like, oh, I have this idea, I'm just gonna get into character and go and do a few takes and see where it goes from there. So it's never the first one I do. It's usually the third or the fourth where I'm like, oh yeah, I really got everything I wanted in that one piece. But with like writing scripts, I'm still trying to like figure that out. So I also have this like mild obsession with Nikola Tesla.
Really?
Yes, it's very strange, I know, but he's a genius and also just so unhinged. And what his process for stuff, he was said to have never written anything down, and he would just go over stuff in his head a bunch.
I can see that.
Yeah, and then when he would go to write it down, it was near perfect every time. So it was like the equations and everything he would never have to redo because he was just kind of always editing it in his head. So that's kind of been my process as of late. I'll walk around, I'll think about whatever my idea is and try to like see it in my mind's eye and kind of think about it over and over, try to get new ideas, and then put pen to paper. Just really let imagination go.
I think that's why your work is so accessible to audiences, because it's so organic, because it has developed organically. You know, the writers that have to have their little drink there and candles playing and the music and their typewriter, like, this is how I work. It's like, no.
No robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does work for some people.
For some people.
They have their process, but then their work is like the same. Like, I know what to
very
expect.
static. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, undiagnosed, and I'm
creatives do, right?
I think so.
Am I wrong?
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I'm like, I
All
think
good
that just
creatives.
might be my superpower is learning how to use that for good instead of evil.
No, that's what I love about this. He's like, look at that cat. It's like, yes.
And I'm glad you picked up on that.
No, that gives me such joy because, again, it's that organic and it's funny. It's like,
Yeah.
why is it funny that a cat's there? It's like, no, it's funny. And
It's
for you
just
to be like,
shocking.
oh, look at that cat. It's so funny. I don't know why. It just
Yeah.
is. And like control
Surprising.
freak me, if there was a cat in my scene, I'd like, get that cat, take him to the shelter until I'm done filming. Like, no.
That's so funny.
What is your creative process? Because you seem very structured to me. Because you're very like responsible and
No, I feel like, well, I talk to myself a lot.
Yeah.
And I pace around my apartment.
Yep.
If my girlfriend's not home, and I talk to myself, and I start to like build the story up, and I'm like, well, no, wait, that didn't. Then this happened, and then I'll like just do bullet points.
Yeah.
And then like for a minute, I was like writing the whole thing out, and then I was like you said, I was like very robotic, and I was like, that's not working for me. I got to do this like, because I I've done improv.
yeah.
So like I like to improv a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, have you done any stand up?
I've tried. It wasn't good.
And
No.
You would think that a storyteller would be a great stand up person.
Yeah, you'd think. I thought.
What went wrong?
I think it was just okay. So I had a really shitty joke. This was a Zoom show during the COVID times, and the joke I did was it was like one time right before before the lockdown, I went out to breakfast with a friend. I met up with a friend, and I was in WeHo, and this dad was like, he like yelled at me. He was like, Tyler, I told you to get back in that restaurant, because I had like a backwards baseball hat on, and then he realized like, this isn't my son, this is a lesbian. But like nobody liked that joke. Like on this, they were just like, what?
I think it's funny.
Yeah, no, that works.
Thank you.
I have friends who are like, oh, I never get rid of a joke until it bombs 5 times.
Okay, I'll do it again then.
Yeah, try it again. with a
All right.
different
4 more
crowd.
times.
Yeah, you have 4 more times to.
Can I count this?
Yes.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in Chicago, though, that's when you first did your Kamala impression.
It is.
For an SNL showcase.
Yep.
Where did it pop into your head? It's like, of all the people in the world, that Kamala was probably a good one to do.
Well, it was an election season, and she was still in the running at this point, and SNL had been coming around, and I was like, Allison, what other chance are you gonna get to try to portray another like half black person in an impression? Like, you gotta try. So I was like, okay, I like researched her. I watched the the videos of her at the debate stages and was like, okay, I
And
gotta
she was
figure
given
it out.
gold, by the way. I'm like,
really
I'm
was.
speaking. I mean, she was just
Yeah.
giving gold left and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, or that little girl was like
Yeah.
huge. I was like, okay, I got to do something with the little girl and the buzz, and I forget exactly what I did, but it was something silly and very short because I was like, it was new at that point. But yeah, that was a wild time.
But
to do.
you got it down to like a T.
Mm.
And the impression really launched you as like a national name when you started to put the videos on social media,
Yeah.
on TikTok. When did you first realize the impression was a hit on social media?
Oh God. I think pretty immediately once I started doing it, because it was interesting. Impressions I've always been able to do like voices and stuff, and I've always prided myself on that. But for whatever reason, I think somebody along the way told me like, oh, impressions online, that goes nowhere. Don't even try it. And I was like, it's the Wild West of the internet, so why not try it? And the one time I did, which was like years, I think, after that showcase.
Yeah, it took you a while to decide to put it
yeah.
on. My first thing was like online.
Yeah, because that showcase was like 2019.
Yeah.
And then I obviously I didn't get SNL, so I was like, okay, maybe I just didn't think about it again. And Maya Rudolph had been doing her Kamala on the show, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's whatever. But yeah, I was like, yeah, let's just put it online. And a friend of mine called me. My friend Bobby was like, that impression is so good. You need to get the pearls. You need to get a jacket. You need to get a wig. And I was like, what? That's crazy, but okay. And then, like, soon it was just, it took off. And I was like, oh, my God.
Isn't that funny? I wonder if you were to audition for SNL today. Even 2019, they were still behind the curve of what we see this season. I think they had a lot of cleaning house behind the scenes. Because we know the executives really make the decisions, and they're still, like, way out of touch, no matter, like, how the young generation feels. I wonder if you were to audition today, what would happen?
Who knows?
Let's call Lauren. The talk is that Lauren's going to give over the SNL legacy to Tina Fey.
Oh, yeah?
Because he's tired. I don't want to say anything bad, but he's a little tired.
He's tired. He's been doing it for such a long time.
I mean, and what a genius. How many great comedians has he given a home to?
Countless.
And spin-off movies that have worked and have not worked. I mean, he's just out there.
Yeah.
It has become such a hit. Do you, and this is when I was like researching you and I was looking like at your music and all the other things that you do. This is when you're like, I wrote this song, and you're like, your voice teacher is like behind you, and you're like, it's like Hamilton. I was like, oh yes, this is so hilarious because you are just so in it. And you're so organic with it. It's like I'm peeking into it. It's not like I'm doing a skit, which I love. But you have like this whole other part of your comedy. Do you ever feel overshadowed at this point with the Kamala impression? Because I know like other interviews are like, do Kamala. Like there's no poke you with a stick. Like, be funny. Do Kamala.
I mean, yes and no. I mean,
It's like a double-edged sword.
It is a
gift.
double-edged sword. I'm
pouring
very
from my jug, by the way.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for it. I have a lot of fun doing it. It feels so weird to be so connected to a character. And it feels so artsy to even say that. But like
No, but it's true. And to your fans, by the way. Your fans are very, very loyal.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I take it as a gift and hopefully use it to share other gifts that I may have that people hopefully like. So I do like the podcast, and I use my podcast to like.
Oh, it's so funny, you guys. Okay, you just have to.
It's really a sketch show that's like. Yeah.
But you feel like you're listening to like this is what would happen if she had a podcast.
If she had a podcast.
And sometimes it's so crazy.
It is. Yeah, it's an ADHD fueled
so
canon.
Like, you can't blink or go to the bathroom because you'll come back. You're like, what the
hell is
happening?
happening?
Like, Conan O'Brien, he's still alive. Okay. I spit out my water with that. I was like, she was like, oh, okay. Like that's news to me. He's still alive.
Oh yeah, I interviewed one of Conan's writers, and he was like, I don't know what to do with this. He's like, oh my god. He's like, I can't get in trouble.
Oh my god, she's funnier than me. I might lose my job. I don't know.
No, not at all.
But I want to talk to you both about social media. So we know social media really kind of propelled your career.
Yeah.
to me, and like impressions don't do well on social media. Now we see a lot of impressionists. They always do like one line or like quick, like I'm going to do 50 lines as 50 different characters. It's like, okay, what I love about you is that you do encapsulate the character by making her very real, but very you too.
Yeah.
Like it's Allison enjoying being Kamala, and it's so spot on. It's like, I want to hang out with Kamala Harris now. And if she were actually to walk in, I'd be like, no, I want the other one.
Oh my God. You know, I do wonder if she's been getting goofier over time, if she's seen my stuff. Maybe that's narcissistic. I don't know.
No,
but
I mean, you know,
she did.
she's very down to earth. Her family is very down to earth. This has got to have come her way.
I hope
She
she
probably
likes
laughed
it.
her ass off. But here's the thing: you're not always so like liberal. We need to show her in the best light. Not that you show her in a bad light. You show her as a real person.
Yeah.
Like, where's my bus? Take a nap. I say it to my friends all the time when they tell a bad joke or something. I'm like, go to sleep. Like,
Go
it's
to
just so funny.
sleep.
I'm doing it all wrong, but so. But social media, to me, do you think it's helped or hindered the comedian life? Because there's a comedian out there. I've met him a few times. He's very nice. I will have to say he's only become popular because I don't know who his PR team or his management team is, but he was in everybody's feed for about 3 months, no matter what gender, sexuality, class, what state. He was in everybody's whatever. And now his shows are sold out around the nation.
Wow.
Is he funny? He does great audience reaction work.
Sure.
Which is a gift, I think, separate than just regular stand-up.
Yes.
That is a gift in its own. That's the kind of comedy I can do. Give me an audience, I'll spend an hour with them. But
Yeah.
tell me to do an hour of stuff, no way.
Sure.
But social media is responsible for him being famous. It's like, okay, he must be good because he's in everybody's social media.
God, I want to know who it is.
I'll tell you after.
I think I know who.
I think you know, too.
I probably
He's very
do.
pretty. He thinks he's pretty.
See,
Anyway.
now you lost me. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but there's a few comedians like that. We're told this is funny because everybody's liking this clip or whatever.
Yeah.
It must take you a lot of work to edit, film, and then to like put out. You're like a one woman production team.
Yeah.
Even though you have family support and your spouse support, but still, it's like at the end of the day, it's like to decide to do a 1 minute TikTok is like, I know how many hours this is going to take me, and then to get ready, you know.
To get ready.
And your experience with social media, I probably would listen to a lot of storytelling on social media where I don't listen to podcasts, which I know is bad to say. Who has time, number one? Number two, like, I get bored of myself. But that's why I like MK, because it's like a whole different experience. What do you think social media has done to the comedy industry?
That's a great question.
That's why I asked it.
Ooh.
Sip some more.
Now we're getting into the
I want the
hard
tea. I want the
questions.
tea.
I feel like with anything, there's good and there's bad that comes with it. I've definitely, especially right after the pandemic, and I was definitely one of these people who really benefited from things being so online after a while. But I also had years of like live performance to sort of back it up. If I had just been doing video performance and I didn't have any of the training or experience that I had, I think I would be struggling to keep up in the live arena. But I think for me, it was kind of the perfect storm where I was able to do like my own one-woman production, and now I can use that to get live opportunities, and that's been really good for me. Whereas I can see how somebody maybe gets really big online, but unfortunately can't back it up.
That's or can't do more than a 1 minute thing because they're set in that mindset. It happens in the drag community as well. Somebody looks great in their gowns with their filters, and they could lip sync to something, but they can't entertain an audience like an actual drag queen can, or do like an actual live club event.
Yeah, that's
that's a good
the
point.
opposite end of that. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it can be bad. It can be kind of cringy, but
Does it make some people famous that probably shouldn't?
there are so many things that make some people famous who shouldn't be famous, and I feel like the internet is definitely one of those things.
It's so weird because actor calls now is like, what's your Instagram? What's your followers?
Which
it's
is
like,
so
do you want to
wild.
hear me do Shakespeare? I mean, we're talking about like for Shakespeare plays. It's like, what?
Yeah.
People are getting Netflix contracts just because of their followers.
Which is wild.
Yeah, I guess that is like the bad part of it.
It's weird.
Because I know some really talented people that have like 200 followers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that also is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, when we get a PR pitch for the show, I have to look at the followers. I mean,
Yeah.
it just has to make sense.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I hate to say it. What's your relationship with social media?
I'm like private on it. Like, I'm very private.
You are private.
I
Like,
am.
this girlfriend thing I didn't know about.
I know. That's like, people are like, wait, what? Like, when did you meet? And I'm like, 5 years ago.
Whoa.
I know, it's the
This
truth.
is so funny.
Like,
Wow.
people are like, they're like really shocked. They're like, you have a girlfriend of 5 years? And I'm like, yeah.
I
We live
am
together.
shocked.
We
I've
have a
known you
dog.
for like 3 years, too.
Yeah.
She's had this girlfriend the whole time.
Is she on?
She's here now.
She's the Batwoman.
She's in the ceilings.
And so that also is another thing is, how much do you share? As a fan, I love to know about, your home life. I like to know, like, all of that. But as that person, how much you want to share? Like, could it endear you more to your fans if you were more open with your personal life?
Probably.
Is she famous? Is that why we can't know?
I'm actually Nicole Kidman.
She's too busy at AMC staring into the light. Yeah.
Well, I just swung over from one of the 5 AMC Burbanks.
Nice.
She's there. Life is a movie. It's like, bitch, come on.
In this place.
Yeah. Like she's ever been in a public theater. She's like, oh.
Exactly.
So, but was that an active choice from the beginning? It's like, this is my life and this is my profession, and they won't.
No, like, I think at first I was very open, and then like creepy people continued to like
no.
bump into me, and I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I shut it down. I was like, no, I'll be private.
Because storytelling is very intimate.
Yes.
So that's a unique.
I might make a TikTok.
Ooh la la.
Maybe.
I didn't know you were on TikTok.
I am. I posted
Even
one
that's a
thing.
secret. Honey, that's not a secret you want to keep. It's like, Nicole and I have our own TikTok. We just recreate scenes from Moulin Rouge and Days of Thunder. So back to the success of Chicago. That's where you met your spouse.
It is.
I want to know, is it easy to date Allison Reese with you have such a big personality? You're so busy with many different aspects of your career. And what are the keys to a successful relationship while in the entertainment industry? Now I can ask you because I thought you were single.
Wow. Well, is it easy to date me? I've never dated me, but I would hope it is.
But we know as entertainment, that's a new word.
I like it.
As entertainment creatives, we have our issues.
Sure. Yeah. I definitely lean on my spouse for support. And I'm very lucky. He has a degree in comedy writing and performance, and we met at the Second City. So, like, we come from the same world, and he has gone off into his own creative path, where I have gone off into this creative path, and it's been really nice to, like, be with somebody who has such, like, a knowledge base for what I'm doing, and was like in the same scenes and community as me, and really gets it. And he's been so supportive and just so lovely with all of that. But yeah, we
I love that they understand, like when you say I have had a long day, it's not like I had a long day at a 9-to-5 job because the copier broke down. It's like, no, my whole life fell apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the drama.
But that you also have your separate kind of entertainment life. I think that's the key. If you're in an entertainment relationship, you can't work on all the same projects and have a healthy home. You just can't.
Yeah, and I find that we have a very nice Venn diagram of when we do work together. We know how to, we definitely appreciate the boundaries, and we'll be like, okay, this is personal relationship, this is a creative relationship, this is business relationship, and we really try to keep those things in mind. But yeah, it's been so great.
How did you both handle when all of a sudden, like, your stars on? I was like, oh, now I'm a TikTok star. Now I'm in a film. Now I was named, funniest comedian in the world.
He has no chill. So he, like, wherever I try to be like, okay, that's really cool, he's like, yes! And which is really nice, because I, like, don't let myself have that.
That's true
And
love
he
when
does
they're
that.
as happy as you are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So when the star was on the rise, it was very like, he was like, oh yeah, it starts. And it's interesting. He's recently said to me, like, we're at this part now where, like, on my social media, he'll be like, hey, I sent you this thing. Didn't you see it? And I'd be like, oh my God, I have hundreds
Alexander, like, come on my show, please.
I was like, I have so many messages. I'm so sorry. I missed it. And he's like, wow, this is the first time I felt like I've had to share you in this way with
That's
with
a very
strangers.
real thing, though.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, wow. So it's made me that much more protective of our home life and, like, keeping that sacred.
Interesting.
You know? Yeah.
You know, and who's to say is like, you know, I got to go to New York and film the pilot for my new sitcom. Alexander's going to play the gay neighbor and, you know all of that. So how have you dealt with your relationship over these 5 years? And because I know, you know, you work your job.
Yeah.
And then in the evenings, like, you're doing storytelling, you're developing this, you had a podcast. Like, how do you keep that healthy aspect?
Yeah, I mean, like, she's always very supportive. And, I mean, she does, she's in, like, script development, and she does writing, so
She understands.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she gets it. She gets it. But she's not, like, on stage. She's not like a stage presence. She's like a very quiet person, like a deep introvert who's just like, you be loud, I'll be quiet. And I'm like, that's
Love
the
that.
good balance. I'll be loud.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Like in theater, we always want to date like our co-star. It's like, no, we should date the stage manager who
Yeah.
could like run our life
Yes.
Love
and
a
still let us
stage
be a
manager.
star, right? We've talked on this show, gays supporting gays, women supporting women, comedians supporting comedians. Sometimes that just doesn't happen. There's politics, there's jealousy, there's fear of supporting someone else's career, that it's going to affect your own success, which happens instinctively sometimes. Like we talked about the Matt Damon improvs, you support women, people of color. That's just part of who you are. I know when you do your storytelling nights, especially your open mic nights, you're like, everybody has a story. Just try it. Might not be for you, but let's support you. Yeah. That doesn't come naturally, especially in LA. Has that always been part of your makeup of like, let's support women, people of color, queer artists?
I definitely have always had a very team mindset, a team mentality. I grew up playing a lot of sports, and so my childhood hero was Steve Nash, solely because I thought he was a good point guard, which made him a good leader. I idolized this guy because I was like, he knows how to lead a team. Like,
Who is that, though?
he's a basketball player on the Phoenix Suns, or he was. He's
That's
a
what I
coach
thought.
now.
I thought it was a country singer. I don't know.
I thought he was a wrestler.
Steve Nash, the wrestler. Would love to see it, actually. But I think until I started living out in the world and experiencing how the world treats me as a woman of color and as a queer woman, I didn't fully appreciate community in that respect. And that's when I was like, oh, I need to foster this. I want to create this. I really wanted to create a safe space for women of color, particularly in comedy and in improv, because at that time it was like you were the only one. If there was a woman of color, you were the only one on that team, typically. And that led to things like, you know, your teammate being like, and you're the slave in this scene. Where it's like, nope. And so I wanted to create a space where we could play and fail and have fun and actually have the space to grow and get better.
That's so generous, because if I share the stage with 5 other people like me, there's also the chance those 5 other people are going to get cast over me.
You know, I don't know. I guess I just...
Well, obviously, it's worked out for you.
Yeah, I feel like I can do my own thing when I want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
I can do my team thing when I want to do the team thing. Yeah.
It's a good balance.
It's my favorite quote of all time is, "A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle," which is cheesy, but I think is very nice.
I like it.
It is very nice.
I'm like kind of dying to know this. So like, as
I can't wait for this.
Yeah, as an improv person myself, how did you respond when that white person was like, "And you're the slave"? Like, were you
Did
like?
you just stop?
I froze. I was like I had not encountered that before.
Yeah.
I did not know what to do.
That is so. even in the last 2 decades, that still seems so like who would
Yeah,
think that?
And that, I have
That's
so
just-
many. I won't do a trauma dive, but like there were so many instances where it was
sorry.
like, why did anybody do this? We're adults playing make believe. Why did you do that of all things? You could have done anything in the
that
world.
just speaks to what his experience is like. How do we deal with a person of color? They must be this.
Yeah. It's like, okay, great. Now I'm just gonna start my own team and peace out.
So at 3 a.m. this morning, this is going to go through my mind that if I was on stage, what would I have done? This is going to plague my thoughts.
I'm going through it. Yeah, I'm like,
Know that when I was on stage, I was just like, what? I did not know what to do. I was like 22, just like, oh my God, what?
And plus, you want to be in good graces with, an improv group. You don't want to be like, I'm the angry person of color, even though, you should be an angry person of color.
I think if it were to happen now, I would have been like, you can leave the stage. You should fully leave this show. I probably would have escorted them out of the building.
It even makes my heart beat. I guess I would have said, you mean sex slave?
That's a good
It's
saying.
dildo time. Boop.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd be like, and see, guys, this is why we all know Steve's a racist. Make it a group scene.
Make it a group scene.
That is
When in
funny.
doubt.
I do want to talk about mental health, something we've been discussing in the comedy world since the likes of like Robin Williams. Ever since that happened, which was such a tragedy, I guess the only benefit is that comedians have felt now they can be open.
Mm-hmm.
We know the highs and lows of being an entertainer, especially comedian. We're making other people laugh, and we always have to make other people laugh if that's who we are.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, we could be going through so much. When you put all of the effort in putting together your own shows, doing your TikToks, having a relationship, going on auditions, having all of this stuff happen, how do you take care of your own mental health?
For me personally, I found that getting movement always helps clear my mind. Or like
Good sex.
yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
Good movement.
Wow, right from my brain to your lips.
Kinky.
I've like I said, I played sports a lot. I work out every now and again, especially if I need to clear my head. Journaling. I had a whole class in college. It was like this English class where the whole semester we focused on is journaling just as good as therapy? Why? And it was truly an entire semester was that.
I hate journaling, but all I want to, like, if I was going to write a book and I have all these ideas, like 5 books, it's all from, like, my life of journaling. And I'm like, why didn't I journal? I fought it so much. I thought it was so, like, let's meditate. I'm like, I don't have time.
And I love meditating.
So that also keeps, I'm just doing it all wrong. Like,
No, there's no like wrong way to do anything.
it's meditating
Meditating, journaling,
and active.
yeah, being active, therapy sometimes.
I've scared, like, 2 of my therapists.
Yeah.
But the fact that you take time and, like, do that and be like, this is what I need to do for me.
And again, I feel like, it's holistic. It's all part of this bigger thing. Like if I want to be in this field and be successful in this career path, I feel like I really should take care of my brain, So that's kind of the thought behind all that.
Have you ever been like, oh, it's time for another TikTok, and then you're like, you know what? I'm just not going to do it today.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially for whatever reason, there's a lot of folks who confuse my Kamala as me hating her, or like there's a lot of like every now and again I'll get like a really scary right wing comment and I'm like, oh no.
Well,
And when that happens is when I'm like, oh, I'm gonna. Pump
you
the
could be doing
brakes on
Mr.
this.
Rogers and people would still have problems.
Isn't that wild?
Here's what I think, what I love about your Kamala is that you endear her. You make her the person that she professes to be herself. She says, I am that down-to-earth person, and you make her that.
Oh, that's nice.
But you also don't treat her precious, which I appreciate too.
Yeah.
No, nobody's precious. Nobody is perfect. Like, nobody is.
Especially politicians.
Yeah, well.
They're not a sports team.
She's like, Joe, go to bed. I was like, maybe he does need a good, long, nice.
yeah, don't we all at some point?
Girl, look at the bags under my eyes. Like Louis Vuitton called her, like, can we just sponsor
Oh
those?
my God.
Jen, how do you take care of your mental health?
I journal too.
Yeah.
I like
I
to.
just have to start doing this.
Here's the thing. I get so serious about it. I make my own journals.
Whoa.
I'm not even
If
kidding.
you tell me out of
Can I
human
get one from
flesh,
you?
no, she's
Yeah,
gonna,
I will
the
seriously
next thing
send
she's
you
going to
one.
say is out of human
So-
flesh.
what?
No,
The
it's
cover's on-
not.
she's
You
like,
know
so
what?
in.
I did start watching Yellow Jackets, and it's the I'm like,
Oh my
should I
God.
be vegan? I might be vegan now.
I could totally see you in that cast, by the way.
Oh, that would be a dream and a half. That would be cool.
Make it
But yeah,
happen.
I
Sorry,
will.
that show was so good.
I gotta watch
It's a
it.
good show.
You haven't seen it?
No, and
Oh, you have
that's
to.
exactly
No, you have to.
Very
You have to. You have to.
good.
You have to. You have to. Season
Very
2 got a
scary.
little unraveled.
It, it kept me up at night. I
It-
would
it
watch
really did. It
an
scared
episode,
me.
and I'd be like, I shouldn't sleep yet.
I need to journal.
I need to journal.
Dear
yeah.
Juliette Lewis. Okay. If I was white, I would do a Juliette Lewis impression till the day I died.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm acting. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
It's all right.
Okay.
I do love her though.
Yeah.
Oh, I love.
Yeah, I journal, and yeah, sometimes I just draw, then I walk, run.
I just get out of the house.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes, like, what if, as creators, like, we get into something and then we realize it's like 8 p.m. and then it's like, who has the energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Day by day.
Yeah.
Step by step.
And that's a good way to even
Day
look
by
at, like,
day.
career. It's like day by day. Like, today, something didn't happen. I didn't get this today, but tomorrow's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah. Holistic. Whatever that means.
I want to know, what is a crowning moment from your career, not based on the success that a project did, but something that you personally, that you were like, it clicked. You're like, yep, I'm in the right profession. This is my personal peak. Not peak, but
This is like a
my moment. Yeah.
my moment. I mean, doing JFL, I think, was that for me. I had a bit of bad stage fright for a while, and doing that was like, oh wow, I can.
That made you confront your fear.
Well, I mean, I had been for a really long time, but to do it at that scale was like, okay, yeah, I can. There's nothing else. There's nothing else for me.
That was great.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you did to like help yourself get over that in that moment?
Just like in that moment, I mean, it had been like a lot of exposure therapy up until that point of like going to do shows and kind of powering through whatever nervous energy I had. But yeah, it was like after doing shows in New York for a couple years, it was definitely like, okay, yeah, I'm doing it through all this muck. Like I was built for this.
Nice.
So
But you're given that kind of title, then it's like, oh shit, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. How about for you? Is there a personal moment you're like, that was a good night, that was a good story? Well, and I know, if I can share with the audience, you also, in sharing your life, you became very public with something that you went through that was
Yes.
very traumatizing.
Yes.
And it kind of took, like, it took a lot of guts for you to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say like that was very cathartic, and yeah, I think like after I got through that, I did feel like I'd felt moments like that before where I was like, oh, I'm doing this. This feels good, but like it was like a different like flavor of, oh, I'm doing this, like because it was just like without like getting into it, it was like a thing where it was an unsafe situation, and I felt like I couldn't talk about it, but then being able to talk about it felt very good.
Yeah.
Well, you know what hit the news today was being able to talk about our experiences. We know that Lizzo is like at the top of a hot topic list.
Yeah.
I don't have enough information to, share what's true, what's not true. Not that we ever do. But in talking what we go through as entertainers, sometimes we're put in very difficult situations. And it's like, do we just want to be part of the crowd? Do we want to be the difficult one? That's a tough situation. And it's like, hanging out with other entertainers, times can get crazy, especially in LA.
Yeah.
I went to an 86-year-old woman's party. They were passing trays of cocaine. Like, no joke.
Oh my God.
Nobody even flinched.
I have never seen cocaine in my whole life.
Me neither.
No. You guys live in LA, right?
I know.
Yeah.
They're like, Northridge. No.
Great
Sacramento.
Tegan and Sarah song, by the way. Yeah, I love that one.
There's coke at every party. And this 86-year-old woman, literally, what I did enjoy was that the sober people were like, "Oh no, thanks, that's not for me." And there was no like, "What? You're not?" No.
There's no, you're not gonna do
I was
cocaine.
like, "Oh yes." And certain people, I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
That's just no.
Did the
Never-
86-year-old do it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
And then she sang show tunes till 3 a.m.
Good for her.
Thank you, Shirley MacLaine. No, it wasn't Shirley MacLaine. Could have been Shirley MacLaine.
Oh.
No, okay. Okay, we're going to get into Kamala.
Oh yeah.
Pour yourself another drink. This is our final stretch.
Ooh la la.
Okay, I need to know because everybody has tried to well, I know I've incorporated your impression into my personal life with my friends for so many different reasons. How does one do Kamala? What are the foundations of the voice,
Okay.
vocal placement, and that laugh?
I start with like a little nasally,
Nasal. So our first exercise.
and then getting like a little vocal fry in there.
Sounded just like
It did.
So yeah, you gotta have a little bit, breathing through your nose just a little.
nasal
Okay.
vocal fry. No,
Not that much.
vocal fry.
And then
Yeah,
and then kind of
yeah.
in the middle of your throat. A little bit. You're
Try it.
close. But that's not always. Okay, that's not always. That's when, she's resting and she's kind of at the end of a breath.
Does she smoke?
I don't think so. I mean, have you seen pictures of her
No.
in the
So-
80s?
Nasal and I sound like an undiscovered dinosaur.
The sentence of
Harrisaurus,
Kermit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you try? That's Mitch McConnell.
Yes. And then I just stare. No.
Freezing.
Now, did you record yourself and then play it back to hear if?
Yeah.
Because I feel some people do impressions, and it's like, doesn't your loved one tell you that you do not sound like them at all?
My loved one, August, he's always like, no, that's really good. No matter what. So I'm like, okay, I will hyperfixate on my own time.
If I would have gotten a call from you as Kamala, I would have 100%
Yeah.
believed it without it being a joke.
I
freaked
should
out.
try that. I should try
you
calling
should.
random numbers.
You should call Joe.
I should call Joe and get the president's number. That would be a great Kamala, if you're listening and you want to do an April Fool's. Hit me up, girl.
So what did happen to Kamala? I don't know. As a queer person, I thought she was going to change the world. I don't know what I expected. And my good friend who is devil's advocate politically for me, because, we as gays were like, yes, march, march, march. It's like, okay, well, how do you want to march? How do you want to advocate? What is it that you want? And so he said, well, what exactly did you want her to do? And I was like, I don't know, but something. And I was very loud about it. And the more I thought, I was like, well, what did I expect her to do?
Yeah. It's hard. Like, what do I want her to? I want her to do something about abortion rights. But I'm also like, well, what can the vice president do? Like, I remember.
Maybe that's it, is that we think the vice president. I know when the vote came through finally, inauguration speech, and even the winning speech when she came out there, I just burst into tears.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when Obama took office, and I still was like, okay, well, do something. Maybe a vice president doesn't have as much power as we think.
I think I don't know. I think one of the biggest things that Joe did was when he was vice president, he came out for gay marriage before Obama did.
100%.
Yeah.
People
Which-
forget that.
And which was like a huge deal. So I'm like, damn, is that what this bitch got to do? She got to be like, yo, he got to do something. Like, maybe, but
I thought she was see her more visually to be the next president.
yeah.
So for this next election, she would have been like, we're already behind her. Joe's already behind her. That's what I thought.
That like this coming
Yeah.
election, it would
Yep.
be like she was the Democratic
Yep.
vote.
That's kind of
Ah.
That's
But
what
if
I
you were
thought,
Joe, would you let
too.
that happen?
100%. He's
I would.
girl. It's like take a nap.
Yeah.
I think he's like, I got people to take naps for me.
Go to Rehoboth. That's where he has a beach house.
He does?
Oh yeah, is that where the beach pictures?
Call the beach house and be like, I'm staying there this weekend.
I'm in the White House right now. Joe, I want to let you know. Okay, you're at the beach. I'm getting work done.
No, call the house with him not there. Call the house staff and be like, I'm coming. Joe said it's fine.
Yeah, and then I just get in there and
100%.
have a beach house.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
I'm in.
Like,
Good plan. You're coming
Secret-
with me.
I don't want to be arrested. I'm brown. We're still not as popular. So. Can Kamala do a little bit of rapid fire?
Sure.
Okay. Where is that laugh? It's like
I don't know. It's somewhere
I swear to
in
God.
my head.
She has to have seen this.
I hope so.
She has to. She has to have seen it. Okay, Kamala, if you're
Hi.
ready.
I'm here.
Okay, right. This is what you hear on the Okay podcast, by the way,
Yes.
too. Yes. How do you have time to do a podcast?
I don't, you know.
You just phone it in?
I phone it in.
Okay, Kamala, a celebrity crush.
Ooh. Natalie Portman.
Oh, is Kamala coming out as queer?
No.
Queer adjacent?
Queer
Adjacent.
adjacent. Yeah. Queer
Another word I
basement. Yeah. No, queer basement.
Flood in the basement. This is such a treat. Favorite show on TV?
Survivor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like it accurately, reflects social dynamics. Okay. Back to us so we know really what the American people are up to.
Well, I know you got mad because Love is Blind didn't go live.
And that did piss me off.
Did you call somebody?
I tried.
Did you get the FBI involved?
I tried to call Bob, whatever his name is, from Netflix, and that bitch was busy with other stuff. I don't know.
Kamala,
He was busy failing up.
aliens, yes? Are they out there or no?
They're here now, yeah. What do you think McConnell is? That's an alien.
His PR should have just come out with that and been like, he is actually our alien. And we would have been like, we love him. Like our first alien experience.
The aliens, they're actually mad that I say that. They're like,
Yes.
that's not us.
Yeah. Well, and now you can't say alien anymore. You have to say extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Oh,
can't
my
even say
bad.
UFO now. It's UAP.
Well, the woke mind.
Right, Tony? Why
virus.
can't we say UFO? What's UAP? When I say UAP, I feel like something.
Unidentified air prop.
Kamala, what would your Real Housewife tagline be?
Girl, what?
Go to bed, Andy Cohen.
Go to bed.
I loved your video. That Andy Cohen voice was really good.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Farrow.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
good. And Andy Cohen came out as a top today.
Wow, today?
In other fake news, no.
I don't get it, but yeah.
Yeah. You'd want to take over from Biden.
First off, you said duty. Can't let that go.
What job description would you want to take over from Biden?
Yeah, president, obviously.
What national day would you institute?
National.
Like there's like National Hot Dog Day.
Oh. National Cat Day. Well, that's already a day.
It's called Pride Month with lesbians.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's called Pride. It's called Dyke Day. Yeah. I think probably Doug Day.
Doug.
I love Doug. My husband, Doug.
Oh, he
Yeah.
never gets attention. We don't even know what he does.
He's an entertainment lawyer. Yeah.
Oh, has he sued anybody we should know about? Oh, God. Would you do happy hour with Melania?
No. What?
Why?
She crazy. Have you had You've never had a conversation with her?
No. What does she say?
Do you know Tim Burton? It's like if Tim Burton
I'm
was
so
scary.
emo. Do you see me?
Yeah.
I'm so emo.
So
I shop at Hot Topic.
Actually, I see your shirt now.
Yeah, I shop at Hot Topic.
I love Hot Topic.
Don't we all?
There was, have you seen the video of the goths on the underpass dancing?
Yes, and like they put it to all the music. Like, rah, rah, rah,
Yeah,
but
it
then
works
they're
with
like,
every music.
Yeah, totally does.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So no Melania, even just to get the
No.
tea.
I mean, what tea does she have?
Probably a lot.
I don't think anybody tells her anything of substance.
I feel they would have a really fun happy hour. And it'd be like a 2-woman play that we, yes.
It would be,
Okay,
I don't know.
all right.
I'll be open to it.
Okay. If
Okay.
Doug is out.
If
Swept up by the Kamala. I'm sorry.
I'm so
I'm
effing
like,
good.
oh, is Kamala God?
I think I think she dabbles.
She dabbles.
You gotta look at pictures of her in college. It was
I've
like,
seen
damn, yeah,
I've seen them.
and
You're a
Yep.
Stonewall version? Because you picked up on some of the uncomfort that we as gay men found. I was like, has she ever been to Stonewall? Does she know it's a gay bar?
like, I know.
Is it a well?
What? It's a wall. Oh, it's a whole bar. Oh,
Let's go in. And she was like,
in. I thought it was a wall. You go in? That's fine.
it's a B&B. Oh, my God. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where do you want people to find and follow you?
You can find and follow me at Alien Reese across all the
Why
platforms.
Alien Reese?
Because I feel like I'm kind of out of this world sometimes. Yeah,
I
I feel
that.
like I'm in another plane at times. So I'm like, yeah. And of course, Alien, Allison, I was like, that works for me. Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah.
Nice.
Jen, where can we find and follow you?
Jen Curcio.
We have to talk about your Instagram name.
It's confusing. So I changed it for Halloween like 1 year, and then I was like, I'm just keeping it going.
To curse?
Oh.
Like CURSE.
I love you to death. I don't think we're on this journey with you.
That's fine. Not a lot of people are.
No, how many times did you ask me, did you misspell it? I'm like, no, I did not.
I know every family member is like, you misspelled it. I'm like,
No, that's
I'll
a joke.
stop.
What a fun night. Well, that's all, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun here every week on the Rocks. Big thank you to our engineer, Tony Sweet, our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez. Coming up, we have Armando and Kendi. I'm making up names now. Kenny from TLC's 90 Day Fiancé. Queer cast members from the new touring production of Les Miserables, and cast members from the hilarious play Peter Pan Goes Wrong at the Amundsen. We also have a big surprise coming up. Yes, please like, share, subscribe, so we can continue bringing this fabulous programming coming your way. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy, and if you drink, stay tipsy. Okay. This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.